You have joined us to worship with us this morning, whether you are online or in person. We're super thankful that we have the opportunity to praise God together today. So, starting off, we have a few quick announcements for you. So, first is the 2021 giving statements. They were emailed out. So, if you did not get the email, make sure you check your spam or junk folder or promotional folders, maybe, I don't know. But do that. And if you get a paper copy or if you need one, just kind of write that out on the connection card out there when you're writing your name, email, number, so that way we know how to contact you so you can stay in touch with what's going on. Just kind of make a note that you would need just a paper copy of that for us. So, January 23rd this week, I shut that off already, so that's not on me now. So in 2 weeks, February 6th, we are going to have another pancake lunch, something after service. Okay, so it's free pancakes and sausage and orange juice for you. All right, it'll be right over there in our fellowship hall. We're going to start doing that hopefully monthly. But so February 6th, the first Sunday of the month, we will be having pancakes over there. So make sure you invite friends, family, whoever. But this is just a time that we can hang out together after service, something that maybe helps you sort of invite them, but also helps us continue to get to know one another. Wednesdays, we had our first one this past Wednesday. I thought they went well with it, but that's because I lead them, so I do a very good job at that. But Wednesdays, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., we're going through the book of John now. So this is a time where we come together, we build up one another together relationally with one another, but also relationally with God. So we pray, read the Bible together. So that's Wednesdays, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And if you need, please write on the connection card that you would like the Zoom link sent to you. So you can do these over Zoom. If you don't feel like driving, you can't make it, you can't drive, just let us know. Or during the week, send us an email saying, hey, can I get the Zoom link? I can't make it tonight. And we will make sure that you get the Zoom link so you can join in with us. If you need a Bible, feel free to just go outside, right in the lobby right there if you need one, or look it up on your phone. You have phones these days. But so as we get started, what you're going to kind of notice today is a little bit theme throughout the service of humbling ourselves and exalting the Lord. And so Matthew 23, 10 through 12 says, "Nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. The greatest among you will be your servant. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." And so we'll be talking kind of about how we need to begin to understand that we need God. That we are here today because that is what we need. And that it isn't anything we do, but what He does. So keep that in mind of how these are things that God has done for you and not anything we have done for ourselves. And so as we begin to worship, will you stand and join us?
Bow down. That lay between us, how
Exodus 14, verses 13 and 14, it says, Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." As part of humbling ourselves before God, we begin to understand that these are the battles that God will fight for us. That we just need to be still and understand that when we start to give in to God, we start to see Him move in new and mighty ways. So for the next minute, as you pray, just sit here in God's presence. Begin to just pray for Him to move in your life. But I encourage you to remember that the God we are praying to here is the God of miracles. The God that no matter how big or small you see this battle that is in front of you, is one that He is going to fight with you. That as we humbly come into His presence and we be still, the Lord will fight for us. Continue to pray that God shows up, and once you are ready to give whatever is holding you back or whatever is standing in your way of getting to Him, once you are ready to give that up to God, may you can then just stand up and praise Him wholeheartedly, but most importantly, just freely begin to praise Him.
Belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your
to the bridge and the chorus of Living Hope. Because as we talk about battle, I think it's important that we put the emphasis on understanding that Jesus has conquered death. That when we begin to look at the battles in our own lives, when we give the magnitude, we decide how big they are. But God says, I sent my son to overcome death for you. So I just wanted to continue to just lift him up in remembrance as we just continue to worship him.
Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, battle belongs to you. Oh God, battle belongs to you.
And don't worry, we'll be getting to Living Hope again after the message. So last week, if you remember, I told you how I was house sitting with this dog named Larry. And I had said that Larry was a great dog, except he woke up around 5 a.m. and you had to take him outside on a leash. Right? And so I complained. And then God sent 1.5 feet of snow that I then had to shovel just to be able to take this dog outside at 5 a.m. I was not a fan, so I will never complain ever again to start off a service because God just made fun of me and he laughed at me from up there. It was a fun week, right? Having to kind of dig ourselves out. But I want you to take a minute now. I want you to think of something in your life that makes life easier, that you can't live without. But it probably has multiple uses. Okay, so for me, it would be just basically electronics. Right? You have your phone, computer, TV, whatever it is. Okay, that's probably what it is for me. This past week, I needed a shovel. Right?
Right after the snowblower quit.
They didn't even have, so here's what happened. Nope. Oh, I'm going to complain. Okay. So I'm house sitting for them. They live in Northeast Ohio, and they don't have a snowblower. So I'm shoveling it, right? I'm spending like 20 minutes shoveling. So I'm going to Canada. I was going to Canada this past week, and I needed a negative COVID test to go, but it has to be within 72 hours. So mine was scheduled for Monday because we were going to leave Wednesday evening. So I dig car path out. I finished. I'm like, hey, we have someone coming to plow the driveway for you. It's like, excuse me? I FaceTimed him all sweaty, and I said, where was this 25 minutes ago? You want to know the best part? I got to my COVID test, and they said, oh, sorry, no one showed up to work today. We're not doing that. I was like, I could have just stayed home. Unbelievable. God was laughing at me a lot those 2 days, let me tell you. But so we look at what in our life has multiple uses. So for my phone, it connects me to people. It informs me. It entertains me. If you're in trouble, it saves you. How many times have you ever been stressed? You just pull out your phone, play a game on it, scroll some social media. It comforts you. Kills time. It has so many uses to our daily life that we begin to almost comprehend life. You can't even begin to comprehend life without it. This is almost a must. But so this week, we're going to continue our sermon series of the Sermon on the Mount. So we'll be in Matthew 5, verses 13 through 16. So this is going to be the Salt and Light passage. If you remember last week, we talked about the Beatitudes. We went through them. This was God informing us for the inside, our inside personal life. What it looks like for our daily walk with God on the inside. That this is what we want to be. When we are these things, we will get these things. Talk about poor in spirit, mourn, the meek, merciful, showing mercy, bringing peace. All these things that he was talking about was how we need to live. Now this week, Jesus is talking to his disciples. Remember, he pulled his disciples away. So this is a message for those who already believe in him. So this is equipping us for our walk with him after we've accepted him. So now we're looking at what it looks like for us on the outside. What does it look like to interact with the world around us? Right? We're going to be and we're going to be talking about our character. This is establishing our character for what other people see of us. So it says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. So what we talked about kind of last week is we are now beginning this passage. We want to look at the audience and the author and the context of it. Right? So you were thinking about what it is you can't live without. It has so many uses. But in this day, salt and light, which would be two things that I think we take granted for pretty easily, right? It's just a part of our life now. You don't even ever think of life without it because it will always be there. So we begin to now see that it's almost comparing that we need to almost be the two most important things of this time. But as we dive in talking more so about what salt means now, is I wanted to look at this sort of, I don't know, it might be a linking verb. I'm not an English guy. I'll be honest. A little hint at my English knowledge. So the ACT, goes to 36, right? 36. I got a 34 in math and a 25 overall. So I will let you fill in the other scores that brought a 34 down to a 25, okay? Okay. So, but the linking verb, maybe connecting verb, something like that, is you are the salt of the earth. Not you should be, you could be, you might be, but you are the salt of the earth. So now we know that this is a must. That one simple word changes the entire meaning and importance of this passage for us. And it's going off of you are the salt of the earth. So what did salt mean to the people back in this day? Well, we see Leviticus 2, I believe it is verse 13. It tells us that all grain offerings must be presented with salt. So now God is requiring salt to be a part of the offering back to Him. Roman guards, soldiers, part of their pay, salt. They got paid in salt. Any fish they ever caught, anything like that, any meat they wanted to eat, had to be covered in salt to preserve it, to let it last. Or how many times we just kind of grab a salt shaker because whoever the house rat didn't do that good cooking the food, and we throw some salt on it. Right? It makes it a little bit better. Sometimes people even tend to throw salt on a wound. So many different means. And eventually it gets to the point where if you aren't good enough, you're going to be thrown out and trampled on by men. And that's what we use salt for here. Make sure we can walk on the snow and the ice. That way my lovely people don't fall and hurt themselves. But salt has so many different meanings that they could not live without salt. So how in the world can we begin to be salt of the earth? Right, this talks now about almost needing to be able to protect ourselves. Because when we look at it, we're looking at preserving the meat now, right? So how can we almost preserve the world? What does that look like? So think about it. We know that Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy, right? So how do we go about preserving and protecting, enhancing the life? Right? We are going to be the people who help make the world a better place. We're going to preserve the length and the quality of it. Right? So we're preserving it, we're making it better, but to be able to do that, we have to do it for ourselves. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it a bit later. But then you're helping other people. Right? We've been talking sort of about humility throughout the service, to be the salt and the light. To be able to do this, we have to humble ourselves before God. To allow Him to make us who we need to be. Because He says, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. That if salt lost its saltiness back in the day, it couldn't even be used in the fields. It had to be thrown on the ground to just be trampled. So then it almost goes back for us to have our saltiness. We must protect it. And now this is the most important part of protecting this. Because if we lose it, then we're useless. God can't use us if we lose it. So like I said, we'll be talking at the end about how we can go about this, what this is going to look like as a wrap-up for us. But you begin to see now what the salt of is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. Of how easy, once we fall, it just kind of feels like the world keeps kicking us down. Right? All of a sudden, it's this huge uphill battle that we can no longer do on our own, but understanding that it's our God that needs to maintain our saltiness. This isn't going to be something that we can do ourselves, but it's going to be something that we need God for. But now moving on to the light. It says, you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven.
Amen.
So this type of light that we're now talking about, of what this is going to look like, is most closely associated to a beacon of light. So we're now looking sort of at like a type of a lighthouse type of light, right? So if you came on Wednesday, we even started talking about light with John 1. And we began to talk about how many different meanings of light there are to people. Scared of the dark. Put on a light and it comforts you. Can't find where you're going. Turn on the light. It lights your path. Shows you where you're going. Or a beacon like a lighthouse, it shows you those scary rocks. Right? It shows you what danger and bad things are out there. It creates warmth. A safe feeling. A light at the end of the tunnel. It's hope. It exemplifies hope. But all these things is still just that. Light has so many different meanings, but back then, they didn't have light like we have it now. Like for us, if we lit a lamp and put it under a bowl, okay. What am I lighting a lamp for? I got all these lights already. But once the sun went down, there was no light there. So you're not going to light a lamp, waste what you have, and just put it under a bowl. We've become so just used to salt and light that I think this passage almost loses a little bit for us. So, we take whatever it is. Can't live without multiple uses. My phone. Right? Talking about how you almost need to be this iPhone to people. Connect them. Save them. Inform them. Comfort them. All these things this use has in today. We need to be that for people. And so like I said, our closing point will be about that, what it looks like, but we just want to break down salt and light right now. And so for light, what they needed to do was maximize their use for it. But for us now, right, you can't hide a city on a hill, and you're not going to put a light under a bowl. But we've talked about this now, of if we have this light, why would we not want to tell people about it? Great question. I don't know. Why do we hide? Why don't we tell people about the one thing, God, that we cannot live without? Face it, we could live without a phone. Do we want to? Absolutely not. But could we? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you today, I can't live without God. I can't imagine my life without Him. So if we have this light in us, Why aren't we maximizing it in our own life by telling more people about it? Why is it something that we keep hidden? When it's the most important life-changing thing. Talk about the importance of how important salt and light were to these people. That's what we are called to do. Called to show them that. But so in the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Is that we have to now understand that we are shining God's light. Not our own. It's this humble approach of beginning to understand that this is God that we are trying to show them now. We're not trying to show them how great we are. We're trying to show them how great God is. Light. Comfort. The God. Protection. Warmth. And it exposes bad things. Because obviously, God has sent us to be able to help build one another up. And part of that includes calling out what is wrong. To help people understand how to live like Jesus did. Because in John 8, John 12, we see Jesus calling himself, referring to himself as the light of the world. So if we are to be the light of the world, that means that we need to be like Jesus. But so I was talking about here, one thing I wanted to highlight real quick is talking about that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. I think, this is my own personal belief here, okay? It doesn't mean you have to accept it. But I think sometimes churches, Christians, we almost tend to put good deeds in a bad light. It's not about good deeds. It's about accepting Jesus as Lord and Savior, which He is. I'm not saying it's not. Or, they're just doing that good deeds, so people see what they're doing. Showing them how good of a Christian they are. There is literally nothing wrong with doing good deeds. At all. It says it right here. That they may see your good deeds. But what we have to do with the good deeds is the mindset and the heart behind them. And praise your Father in heaven. Are we doing the good deeds, which we want to do? Okay, we've established we want to do good deeds. Okay, we are a church that will do good deeds for people. But the good deeds are going to point people towards praising Jesus. Understanding that it's not going to be them praising us. It's not them going to be praising me up here. But it's going to be us helping them turn their eyes towards God and praising Him. So that when we are the salt and the light of the earth, we are getting in there, we are helping them preserve their life. Right? We are helping them, whatever they need salt and light to be in their own life, we are turning ourselves into being like Jesus so we can be the salt and the light. So that they may see our good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. So we begin to have this mindset of we are going to be like Jesus. If Jesus is the light of the world, and we have a light in us, we need to start to be like Jesus. If we're going to help to be the salt and the light of the earth, we have to be like Jesus. I saw the craziest example of a good deed this weekend. I returned home to the homeland. Okay, so I was up in Canada. And so they have a place, I don't know if you've heard about it, it's pretty good, Tim Hortons. You ever go up there, there's literally one on every single corner. Okay? Sarah, beautiful girlfriend, loves coffee. Me, being a good guy, I went and got her one. I'm sitting in line, okay? It's coming all the way out around. It's basically like, you know how sometimes like a Dunkin' or a Starbucks will get so busy that the line's almost on the street? Line's kind of on the street. So sitting in line, okay? Sitting there. A couple cars in front of me, right? So this was all the way back to the road, and it's going kind of slow. Another car had come through, so it was like a lot. Like I guess there was a bunch of buildings over here too. I wouldn't call it a mall, but a plaza. There's the word I was looking for. And that's that 25 ACT right there, figuring out those big words. Okay? Coming in, right? Cars coming in. This car, 3 cars in front of me, stops and lets them in. It's like, what? I'm like, excuse me, you need to go out and come back around and wait in the road. So we all did. I was like, wow, Canadians are good people. I'm Canadian too. You can do the math on a good person. But they literally stopped and let someone in, and I was like, that would never happen here. It could be 2 cars in McDonald's line. I ain't letting anyone in. Give me my McChickens. But they let them in. I was impressed. I was like, good for you, man. But it was those kind of things that person probably didn't even think twice about doing. Right, stop. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Things where when we're doing these good deeds, we don't even think twice about it. We don't care what the people around outside of us think. We care about what God thinks. Right? We're doing these deeds to show people Jesus. Salt and light. Absolute life changers for them back in the day. We're called to be life changers. World changers. They can't live without salt and light. So we are understanding now that we are, right? This isn't an option. We are called to be these things to these people. We talked about the Beatitudes, doing all these things in our own personal life. And as we begin to do those, we begin to see our life grow. And that's now where we're called to be salt and light. So how do you begin to effectively be salt and light? This is going to go back to one word. Character. This is Jesus preaching us about our character. Character is who you are when no one's watching. If you're going to be salt and light to the earth, you have to begin to have salt and light in your own life. If you are going to lead other people to Jesus, which we are called to do, you have to begin to lead yourself towards Jesus. If you are going to show love to other people, you have to learn how to love yourself. If you're going to forgive other people, you have to learn how to forgive. Or if you're going to forgive other people, you have to learn how to forgive yourself. Understanding that God is for all people. He can be all things to all people. We list out what all salt and light can do. That man God can do anything and everything. But for this character of a salt and the light, we have to humbly understand that we have to seek God with everything. That to be able to get and become who He needs us to be, we have to grow in our own life. So the salt and the light, becoming the salt, maintaining your saltiness, maintaining your light, is done where no one can see you. It is between you and it is between God. But if you, which we are called here to do, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. To do these things, we do it where we understand that we have made Him Lord and Savior. I talk about that a lot. I will preach that forever. Lord and Savior. Not only did you accept that He died on the cross for you, you now live your life for Him. This walk of obedience that we were talking about last week with the Beatitudes. Fortunate are all those people. The humble mentions that twice. Those rewards. But it's so our light will shine through. It's our faithfulness to God shining through us. But it's not something we ever want to trample down. We don't ever want to be trampled over. But so we can't be salt and light to the world if we can't do it in our own life. But so what would salt and light look like in this day and age with being an iPhone, right? Or whatever it is you picked. You begin to be these things. You begin to have something that these people cannot live without. You begin to serve people. Humbly serve people. You begin to talk to them. Invite them to a pancake breakfast. Right? You start to build trust. You start to build this relationship and understand that, then you begin to understand that something in your life is so different that they are drawn to it. And the difference is going to be how you loved Jesus. But it's going to be based off of how you love Jesus when no one else is watching you. How you love Jesus when you weren't in a church building surrounded by a bunch of other people. Amen. It's tough. But it's all about routines. So what I would challenge you for this, of helping us become the salt and the light of the earth, establishing routines. I'm not telling you that you need to come out of the gate reading 3 hours a day every day of the week. I need you to start at your own pace. 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Reading the Bible, praying. But understanding that where you start right now isn't going to be where you are a year from now. Amen. Where you start off with 1 day a week for 5 minutes. Pray. That's great. That's a start. But we're going to continue to push you in your walk with God. That's what we're called to do here. It's salt and light. Right? We can help one another, but we're called to go out. The light, it lights up the rocks. The salt, it preserves things. We protect things. We protect God's earth. We preserve it. So as we begin to create these habits, and us knowing that these are just stepping stones, and we're going to continue to grow in that. 1 day will become 2 days. 2 days will become 3 days a week. But understanding that you can't compare. You can't compare it to someone else. It's your walk with God. So we're going to be equipping one another to help us become the salt and the light of the earth, where we can begin to be these things to people, these things that people can't live without. Because understanding through our light that people cannot live without Him. So, as I wrap up, the worship team can come up and get in place. But what I wanted to see, okay, and I didn't plan for this, it was just kind of going through my mind, is, does one person here, okay, now your heart's racing a little bit, it's going to include a microphone. Does one person here today, just one, and it can be more than one, I'll never cut it off. If y'all want to keep going, it's less me talking, I'm great with that. Does one person have a story about how someone, a deed someone did for you, they were the light, or they were the salt and the light of the earth for you, and it pointed you towards praising God? People stepped out of their comfort zone, did what God had called them to do, and in turn, it glorified God and blessed you. So a story where someone stepped out of their comfort zone, obeyed God, and in result, it turned your life around. Let's go. Oh, we got a couple. You want to come on up here? Because we have actually not only a microphone, we have a beautiful camera for those watching at home.
Not anymore.
Well, my wife and I, Is this on? Oh, wait, there we
And
go.
sometimes you hear yourself, sometimes you
When
hear
my wife
yourself.
and I first started following Jesus, we always knew about Jesus, but we were Easter, Christmas kind of couple. But when we finally found him and we were praying, I got in trouble and got a ticket in Euclid, and we didn't have any money. We went to court, and I was horrified. And Ann was doing a woman's study. We opened up the page, we read it, and that day it happened to be, trust in me, do not be afraid. Fear is from the devil. And I went up to the court, no money in my pocket, figuring I'm going to jail today. And they sent me $265, and I got in line to pay my fine, and a woman came in behind me and said, I'm here to pay your fines. I wasn't even supposed to be in court today. And I said, are you sure? And she goes, yeah. Because I was sitting back, and God told me to pay your fines. And I'm like, thank you. She goes, don't thank me, thank God. I don't want to do it. I want to go out to tell the whole world how awesome God and Jesus was. And I'm going to have goosebumps. It just lit a fire that has never gone out.
That's awesome. Thank you. Was there another story? I know I saw your hand. Okay. But you see, it's small things like that where we just begin to see how the world changes. Someone's obedience of sitting in a courtroom when they weren't supposed to be there when they said, I'll pay your fine. But understanding that as you grow in your own personal walk with God, it's hard to deny that those things even just begin to happen. You begin to have a push for that. So, what I wanted to do to close today out, before we sing a song, talking about salt and light, talking about being things to people, stepping up, serving. So what I wanted to do for prayer. So my heart, obviously, is we set the vision. The church will be filled with families being transformed into disciples of Jesus. Right? It's based off of Zechariah 8 passage. People of all ages. The church will be filled with children playing there. To help our church become filled with families of disciples, I believe my biggest thing will be that we have children's, so we have Sunday school, children's church, whatever you want to call it. We have it weekly. Right now it's every other week. Okay, so my goal is to have that every week. Because then we can be the salt and the light to the kids at their own pace. Let's face it, I'm a pastor. I didn't even listen to messages till I was like 22. That's because I was giving them. Okay, but so we have to start to be things for these kids. So here's what we need. I was talking to Kathy. So here's what we're going to pray for today. I'm not saying you guys need to do it. But what we need is we need 3 more teachers. Okay, we need 3 more Sunday school teachers to step up, get in a rotation. It's not every week, but to just be there with the kids. Kathy has curriculum games, prizes, all that for you. But so what I want us to do now is to just spend some time as a church. Whether they're in this room, they're at home, or they're not here yet. But just pray for God to bring 3 teachers to us. And honestly, the God I serve, I think he's going to bring us 6. That's just what he does. And that's what he's done for us this past year and a half. Okay, but just for the next minute, let's just begin to pray that as we want to see more families' lives changed here. Just begin to pray for some teachers. before you, I thank you for each and every person in this room. So whether they are here online or they haven't even been home here yet, God, may you just continue to raise up teachers to educate, love, and grow with the kids here at North Star. As we continue to just glorify and praise you, may we begin to just do this at all levels of life. I pray these things in your name. Amen. You do have two options, though. One, you fill the classroom with teachers, and I'll stay up here and preach. Two, I'll go to the classrooms and teach, and you guys can rotate preaching each week. How's that sound? I'll do it. I'm just kidding. But no, so just continue to have that on your heart and mind as we go. So we'll be singing a closing song, but do continue to just pray. As you grow in your own life praying with God, just pray that He continues to raise up teachers here so we can continue to bless children and their families here. seek after God, so we can just continue to be the salt and the light to the earth for whatever it is that people need. May we begin to show them who God is. Be blessed.
I turn this one back on. I'm going to try the new program.
Your daughter's got beautiful hair. Granddaughter. Somebody has to make sure it's just keep him out of trouble.
Yeah, green coat.
And how are we like I have to set them before the game with this word?
I messed it up. The part I wanted was
2 weeks in a row, this is gonna be a habit.
I guarantee you, I had to bribe her this morning.
Well, in this weather, I usually stay home in bed, you know?
Yeah, so I said the first one, she did the bridge, and the fourth was the bridge, so that was out.
Because I turned in the other box.
And we do everything.
Yeah, well, then you can't end up now, you have to learn what's in that box for extra short. You just can go on plus one, that's what we're and then, yeah, I'm good. That is here, that they would come because that's switched on all that. Actually, turn on all
The other thing I'm thinking about
Oh, yeah. Do you want to tell them? Do you want to tell them?
I mean, I don't know what about your safety, but I'm sure that.
The only thing that was plugged in, that now, those are the church.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Oh, they did that power thing.
Well, it's powerful, it's a powerful issue.
So, you imagine what you were
Yeah, I know.
So,
Okay.
So it's, I doubt with the basketball, the person I do.
Anyway, it's like, little kids go out feedback, so that'll help. Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna put this back up, so we're gonna keep this back upstairs.
So, Zach's conditioning telling me tomorrow, they were gonna chase the week, but Dan hey, you guys are talking. He'll tell you a bunch. But she's like, don't worry, I just want to get pregnant by this.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, she probably would have been like, yeah, and it definitely was. I'll leave it on the friend alone. Okay. Come on, you have a little bit. Yeah, so
What about that?
yeah, right?
Alright, you can go, I just wanted to let you know.
So hopefully Sarah's around.
But she didn't. So Sarah's gonna come today, but then she kind of started when she said, so.
So I turned around and then came back home.
Oh, we know, they should join the story, Amy. I'm just kidding. That's what
Thank you, Johnny.
I look like that.
Yeah.
I will do it.